Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Nandini, and I'll be your host today. My friend told me that she wants to join RBI because she likes power. And I'm still unsure about what are the perks of working at RBI. And that gets into a whole new world of understanding what are the roles that exist at RBI, who is the right fit for this organization, how to get into RBI, what is the working culture and routine like, what do the career, salary, compensation, progression look like. So we are going to get ready to determine if you want to join RBI. And today I have with me Mr. Nalin Priyaranjan, sorry for that, a manager at RBI and an IIT-Delhi alum. He is going to talk about all this and how you can join RBI of India, what to expect once you join, and what will be your future here. So really, really great having you here, Nalin.
Thank you, Sandhani.
So, guys, before we start, just everyone, whoever is watching, I'm just saying that if you have any questions, drop it on the live chat. We'll take that up at the end of this webinar in the last 20 minutes. So, Nalin, before we get into the work culture, let's understand what people need to do to even be here. So, can you tell us what are the various entry level positions available at RBI and what are the eligibility criteria for each of them?
Sandhani, as you asked, there are primarily two levels of entry in the organization. The first one is assistants, and the second one is the Grade B DR, which is the kind of the most popular entrance examination, and people that are trying to this. So, before I want to get into it's important to understand the structure of the organization, because without understanding the structure, you'll not be able to differentiate how assistants and Grade B DR are different. So, at the top, we have the governor, and then we have the 4 deputy governors. So after that, we have the executive directors. And as we go further down the ladder, we have grade F. So grade F is the highest level. F, then go down to E, D, C, B, and A. And then after A, we come to assistants. So the recruitment level is then only at assistant level and at B level. There is no recruitment at A level. Okay. That is important to understand. So, having cleared that one, so grade B are the designation is manager. So, as you go to grade C, it's AGM, assistant general manager, then DGM, deputy general manager, and grade F is the chief general manager. So, when we say grade B DR, it's basically at manager level entry. So, the basic education qualification that's required to be at assistant level or grade B DR level primarily same, both should be graduate. However, one major key distinction is that at assistant level, the educational qualification of graduation is required of only 50%. However, at grade B DR level, it is at 60%. So that is one key difference that people should consider. Because historically, I have come across instances where people with even 59% they applied to the grade B DR level, and only at interview level when everything is getting checked, they are just stopped. So we should take these things important consideration. And so a graduate with 61% can apply for both assistant and at grade B DR level. At assistant level, the examination is pretty much, I would say, relatively it would be easier, because at grade B DR level, you have your phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1 is pure online objective questions. Phase 2, you have your online, it's an online examination, but you have your hybrids. So you have descriptive questions also and your objective questions also. And then you have interview. So it's quite tough. Having given that, I've really found it quite challenging. So now coming to the focus, after doing at assistant level, I think we can discuss primarily on the grade B DR level, because that is what I think the most of your audience would be interested to know about, and that's what major grads they target. So even at grade B DR level, we have 3 different kind of cadres and specializations. One is the general, because if you see the recruitment notice, general, DEPR, and DSIM comes in the same notification. Now, what is the difference between general, DEPR, and DSIM? General, for to apply at general grade B DR, one has to be only bachelor's graduation with 60%. However, to apply in the DPR or DSIM, one has to have specialized masters in the field of economics or finance or quantitative finance. So there is a list of specialization. If you fill into any of these criteria, you can apply to DPR, which is the Department of Economics and Policy Research. Okay. There's another department we have, Department of Statistics. So from that, you have to have specialization in statistics, masters or related area. So people who have, so basically masters in economics can apply at both general also and a DPR also. But because since DPR is matching with their academic qualification, so there are many people who just apply to the DPR. So these are the primarily three. So if in your audience somebody who has done masters in statistics or someone who has done masters in DPR, masters in economics, then they can apply to these grade B DPR examination or grade B DSIM examination. And if they want, they can skip the general part. So I think that's pretty much sums up some setup. If you have any related query.
Sure, guys, if you have questions, just type it on the chat box. I have a question. So if we give examination through these different channels, statistics, specialization, or economics or general, so we land up at the same position when we start at RBI.
Yes, you land up at the same grade B manager level. Okay. What happens, you have there's a pool. So when there's a list of people, for example, there are different cadres. So you start at the same level, but you are in different vertical. Okay. You are in the list of general and your list of DPR and list of DSIM cadre. So the progression within the cadre may differ, but you start at the same level. This was not the case historically. I cleared the examination in 2015, and at that time, if you see the notification of that time, there was no different verticals. They were all merged into common seniority cadre. CSG, that's what we call. But that system has been discontinued in the last few years. So now we have different verticals.
Okay. And can you just explain a bit deeper about the different recruitment process? So it starts with the examination, and then what happens?
So for all these three cadres, the process is more or less same. You have first phase 1 online examination, which comprises of basically general awareness, English language, quantitative aptitude, and reasoning ability. In phase 2, so I'm talking about only of the general, grade B DR general, which maximum people apply for, because that is the general area. So after clearing phase 1, which comprises of these 4 topics that I've just said, are asked to phase 2. Now phase 1 is only screening. So whatever score you get in phase 1, you just have to pass it. You need not think of acing the examination, because that score doesn't count in your final cutoff. However, at phase 2 level, now you have to be wary about all these things. In phase 2 comprises of basically 3 papers: economics and social issues, finance and general management, and one is English. So when I had appeared examination, all 3 were, except for English, the other 2 were entirely objective MCQ based. However, over the last couple of years, they have moved into more of a hybrid examination with they have objective questions also for each paper and descriptive. The only difference within the previous decade was earlier, I think before I joined, it was paper based, but now it's entirely online. So the beauty of online is that the results gets out very quickly. So after clearing phase 2, you have paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, and obviously since it's a competitive examination, you get a cutoff. So once you clear the cutoff, you are being asked to come to the interview. So the interviews are basically conducted in one of its regional offices of your choice. So like RBI has got a central office in Mumbai, and it has got regional office in most of the state's capital. So the applicant has the choice to apply for interview in one of the closest regional office. So I had my interview was done in Delhi office.
Okay.
So, however, in the last couple of years, I think in the COVID, maybe there's online situation there. But so you get called for the interview, and based on the performance of your phase two and interview, there is a cutoff being decided. So people who get who clear the cutoff, they are being offered being given their roll number gets figured in the final list. One thing is important to understand is that the cutoff is decided on both interview and your phase two marks. So I have seen people who have aced phase two, but for whatever reason, the interview went horribly bad, and they could not clear. So it's not important that if you have got very good marks in phase two, then you can be you can take interview for granted, because the variation in interview is huge. People are getting very high marks also, and people are getting very low marks also. So both are equally important.
We have some people asking, sir, how was your interview experience? Can you tell us something about that?
Well, coming from an engineering background, I had obviously some understanding that they would be asking questions from my engineering level. So, but like every typical engineers, once you're out of college after 2 years, you just forget everything. But I tried to cover most of my core courses, and so I remember so interviews being done by the entire recruitment process is being done by RBI Services Board. So there's a panel of 5, 6 very senior people. So having expected that they would ask some 10 questions from my engineering background, one of the senior person, they did ask a question from my, probably I think he would have done also mechanical engineering. I do not know, but I guess that. So they asked me a very core mechanical engineering question. And at that point of time, I did not know the answer. So I tried to guess it. But he was not happy with my answer. And after then we moved on to the next question. So then at that point of time, there was, I think, World Economic Forum, there was discussion on the Industrial Revolution 4.2. So there was a question on that. Remember, please mind, it was in 2015 or 2016 early. So it's quite dated. So whatever, don't think that's the same case. The context is different. So I tried to answer and that question also, and then also maybe he wanted a slightly different answer. They asked questions on the functions of RBI, which I had gone through from their website, and that has been very important. It's very important to have clarity on the functions of RBI, because I'm pretty sure there will be one question related to that also. So I answered that quite satisfactorily. However, there was a follow-up question. So remember, whatever you say, there might be, for example, you say this is not applicable in this state. So when you say it's not applicable, you should also be prepared for a why question. Why hasn't been done it? So one can prepare for interview as much as is possible, but still, I would say sometimes interview a lot depends on chance. So just be candid. If you don't know, don't try to beat around the bush. Just straight away say no, and then you can move on to the next question. But I think it's important to understand how you answer the question. That also matters, because most of your background on theory is being already covered in phase two. If you have appeared in interview, then obviously you have some sound understanding of the economic and social issues and finance and general management. So sometimes a lot depends on how you present yourself in the interview, sometimes you present yourself in a stressful environment. So remember, knowledge is not everything. How you present yourself also matters. So I did not get very high marks in interview. I get pretty somewhere in the median. But so I was fortunate enough to clear the overall cutoff.
We have one more question. Someone is asking, can an assistant get promoted to a grade B officer or further?
So when someone has asked this question, I'm assuming the word they use, the promotion. So not through examination channel. So an assistant can appear in this examination also, But since the question of promoted, yes, they can get promoted, but that is through department's promotion policy, which is internal to its staff. That is a very different. An assistant has promoted also, I've seen, but there is a timeline for that. An assistant has to first get promoted to AM level, assistant manager level, which is grade A. For that, the assistant becomes eligible after certain number of years. Once that person is in AM at AM level, then after certain number of years, that AM gets eligible for grade B promotion. So an assistant can get promoted to grade B in certain amount of years, but the fastest way to go through is this examination.
Understood. We have a question. Somebody asking if a person is from a CA profession, so can they appear or apply for any specialization in the grade B examination if he or she hasn't done any post graduation?
So the specialization are only two that I've just pointed. One is the economics and the statistics. So having person with CA level, I don't think they qualify for either of these things. So they can apply for the grade B general examination. In fact, one of my batchmates, and there's several in several batches, there are various people with a CA background. So there we have got lots of people with a CA who have joined as grade B general. So I think grade B general DR is something that they can apply for.
Okay, got it. What is the timeline for promotions in RBI?
So that is, I think, different. If you ask this question to different people who have joined different points of time, they might give you a different answer. So linking with the organization structure that I have just pointed, at grade B, C, D. So after a certain point of years, from B to C, you get promoted. So roughly right now it's roughly around 7 years. But here also there's certain kind of cutoff place. Not everyone is promoted automatically. Based on your performance, you're getting scored, and then once you reach a certain threshold, then you get promoted. So from C to D, we have a different promotion mechanism, which is much more stringent. So as you go higher up, it becomes much more competitive.
Okay. And let's get inside RBI now. Maybe talk about what is the role to begin with when you first time join as a grade B officer. What do you do exactly?
Thank you. Before answering that question into for your audience, I would just like to link it with my experience, because as I said, I had appeared in 2015. Now 2015 was a very peculiar year in terms of recruitment, because the recruitment process adopted in year 2015 has been discontinued since then. And so our batch got a unique opportunity of working in different departments. How? Let me tell you. In 2015, so like I said, now there is separate recruitment between general, DPR, and DISIN. However, in 2015, there was common recruitment, and only in the optional paper. So if you refer to the paper 3, which is for general, it is general, finance, and management. So during our process, there was option to select general, finance, and management, or economics, or statistics. So even I, with the kind of no background in economics, I could, in theory, apply for, I could opt for economics. So someone with even an economics background could opt for general, finance, and management. So that's what happened. So I, being an engineer, I just opted for general, finance, and management. So, but when I was when we joined the organization, obviously some of us would have to be transferred into different cadres, different departments. So because in my recruitment year, people had there's a pool of general, DPR, and DISIN. So somebody had to go to DPR and DISIN. So they asked for preference. So I got the opportunity to work in DPR, which I wouldn't have got had I applied in any other year. So with this unique experience in DPR, I've seen the work in different in my department also, and also through my batchmates, I've seen to a certain extent in other departments. So when a person joins, so in the context of people joining to general, see, the experience depends a lot on which office you are joining and which department you are joining, basically. Once you get joined, you may go to one of the regional offices, which are basically established in the state capitals, and you can also uh, be posted into central office, which is in Mumbai. So the experience at regional office and central office can vary depending on which department. So a person, irrespective of their academic qualification, can be posted into the HR department, can posted into Department of Supervision also, can be posted into the Financial Inclusion and Development Department, can be posted into Financial Markets Operations Department or Regulation Department. So there, if you see in the RBI website, we have so many numbers of department. And I think one of the best things about these things is that the work of every department is very unique. So if you're working in one department, doesn't mean that you know the work of other departments also. Because when you switch one department to other department, probably what you're doing, you get a whole new different experience. I want to add my experience because I had worked 3 years in the central office department in Mumbai, and currently I'm in one of the regional offices in Ranchi, in the Financial Inclusion Development Department. And the work experience is entirely at two different extremes. Being working in central office department, you get to be, it was more of an academic kind of research oriented. I have published a couple of research papers. But when I moved to one of these regional offices in Financial Inclusion Development Department, I have traveled extensively in the state. I've seen the remote areas, the rural areas. We used to conduct financial literacy camps for the rural people who are sometimes even they can't converse in Hindi also. They converse in their regional languages. So the experience varies a lot, and so it depends on which department you land up initially. And there is one should be prepared to land up in any of the department and take up any of the work. One should not have a preconceived notion that I have done a master's in finance, or maybe I want to work in financial markets, then probably he would get that. No, you may not get that.
And if somebody who's watching wants to just figure out if this is the right fit for them, so can you just tell us who will be fit for this organization?
Mostly, first let me give you some style the factual information, and then maybe we can. So mostly people who have joined this organization, I can't comment on all of them, but some of them had they wanted to have a public sector job, public service. One of the reasons, or people who have already had a good amount of exposure in private sector, they have also moved to RBI. So why one would think to join RBI? First of all, it's a prestigious organization. There is no doubt on that. It's a highly professional organization, what I would say. So somebody wants to work maybe in the public service. Somebody wants to have a public sector job affiliated to one of the prestigious organizations in the country, then RBI would be a place. Secondly, we talk about there's sometimes people have a notion they want some job security, they want to have good kind of good work culture, good work-life balance. For them, this job would be a perfect match. And thirdly, people who have an inclination in this sector, because if you are averse to banks, if you are averse to the monetary system, if you do not appreciate the financial infrastructure of this country, then maybe perhaps you might want to think about it. But one of the reasons I applied for this job, because I had already an inclination towards the finance area, and in fact I did a few of the elective courses in my college. So because of that inclination, because somehow it aligned with my other aspirations, so I had applied. But one should have a clear understanding, because it's that one thing we need to understand, that the attrition rate in the organization is very, very low. For various reasons. So mostly people who come in, they don't want to leave it. So when somebody is applying it, I think I would urge them to think very thorough. Why do you want to come in here? Because once you come in, you may not want to leave it. and perhaps maybe because you like it, you like the environment over here. But this is something that you will do for long. People have left the organization, but you have to be clear about why you want to join this organization. So I think some of the points that I've just discussed is that first you have to have inclination what RBI does. You have to have understanding of the RBI functions, and you have to have inclination towards that. Secondly, being a public sector job, it has its kind of features of public sector jobs. So if you like those features, then perhaps you'd love to work here also. So I think these are the primarily things that one has to look before joining this organization.
And since you said that nobody wants to leave this organization, I really want to know, if I had to ask, what does a day in your life look like at RBI?
So I would say my day is see, irrespective, I think which department you have, being a professional organization, it expects first of all the people to come on time and to leave on time. So unlike what you can hear that in private sector, just come at any point of time and you just leave as long as the work is done. Here people emphasize on punctuality. So wherever you are, in which of the regional office or central office, it is expected of you to come on time, no matter how far you live away from offices, because that's so wherever you are, you have to come office on time, and then it's a desk job. You are, depending on there are certain departments where you are in currency, you go into the vaults also, but those are for most of the departments, it's a desk job. You come, you have a system, you check your emails. So if there's something, because you're already working in the organization, you know what is the next day's work that you have. If something comes up in your email, and so you have to prioritize. Basically, you have to prioritize on the work that needs to be done today, maybe tomorrow. So there are different kinds of work. Some work would require you to maybe do some research over internet, get some information from other departments, get the data, and then maybe prepare certain reports, certain brief inputs, maybe to your immediate reporting officer, or maybe to higher officials. So depending on the task you have, at some times you have to be asked to deliver presentations also to different higher ups. So mostly it's a desk job involving it. So one would appreciate it would be better if you have some good data analysis skills also, like if you're proficient in MS Office tools, because that would help. Because eventually, when you join, you'll be asked you have to prepare reports. If you're able to prepare good reports, obviously, good in terms of not only in content but in terms of presentation also. So I think with all these things, so depending on which department you are, these may vary. But I think in a nutshell, this kind of sums it up.
Good. And what are the timings? When do you have to enter the company, and when do you leave?
So I think it varies slightly from offices to offices, but in a nutshell, I would say 9:45 to 5:45, or maybe 6.
Okay, got it. And during COVID and now also, has there been times where work from home has happened and has been considered?
During COVID, as you might recall, the whole nation was in a kind of lockdown for considerable period. And if you follow the news with RBI, so RBI had kind of established a separate center with all this quarantine, all this stuff, not all the stuff, but some of the essentials. So it kind of segregated the essential, because see, if you are familiar with the functions of RBI, you must be aware that certain things has to run no matter what happens.
Right.
So there were certain staff dedicated to that. They were quarantined to different separate hotels, and arrangements were being made so that the certain services are not affected at all. That the organization did promptly, and as it was locked down, most of the offices, so there was a provision to work from home. I mean, for a few months it was first time for us also, but it was managed. And then, as you recall, slowly the restrictions were being eased up, and there were different instructions being issued by the central government and the various state governments, or different kind of fractional workforce that needs to be deployed in the office. So the organization follows these guidelines, the central and state guidelines, and slowly, the work from home has been, kind of it was done away with. And now I think I can't tell about other offices, but in the center that I work, there is no provision for work from home as today, because now, as we know, COVID restrictions have been completely uh, done away with. So we have to report to office on a daily basis. But yes, when in the COVID, there was provision for work from home.
Got it. And can you let us know about the salary and the compensations that are available at RBI and how it evolves with time and as people get promoted to higher posts?
So the salary, if you see I think the previous year's advertisement, 2022, so there they mentioned about, I think, the gross emoluments somewhere between, if I recall it correctly, is somewhere between 1,05,000 to 1,10,000. So, like being public sector organization, you have a basic pay, and then you have different allowances over that. So, as you go higher up, your allowances increases, the value of allowances increases, and also you get few additional allowances as you get promoted higher up. So one thing I want to mention, that salary, I feel, is very comparative with private sector at entry level. So I don't see, even I think top firms would offer similar pay structure to a freshly undergrad.
Okay. And if we had to compare it with maybe IIM and MBA graduates, how can we compare
that? I would compare it in a slightly different manner. In RBI, in my batchmates, we have colleagues who are from different IIMs. We have colleagues from IIM Ahmedabad also who had and different IIMs all across the spectrum. So when you say compare with them, maybe we would not like to compare with the top 1 percentile that you see on the news. But if you compare with the average or the median, or even somewhere near to that, then I think we at entry level we are comparable. And as we go higher up, there's also at 5-year level, at every 5 year, there is a salary revision that happens. And that's quite comparative. So I think, see, you cannot compare with one-to-one kind of growth that a person has in a private sector within the public sector organization. At entry level, they may start out the same, but over the period of 10 years or 15 years, the gap may increase. But I would say that RBI, being a great employer, takes care of all of the needs of their staff in a very benevolent manner, and you would not feel that you that you're not being compensated enough with the kind of work that you do here.
And as you said, there is a lot of research work and presentations and all these things in RBI. So I just want to understand, in perspective of a development and growth, does RBI provide any training and opportunities for you to grow even faster, maybe if you want to?
So I think that's a very important question that you just touched upon. So RBI provide lots and lots of opportunities for individual to grow in terms of the kind of training. So RBI have different training establishments. One, we have the RBI Staff College at Chennai. The other we have in Pune. And also we have 4 zonal training centers. And then we also have something called RBI Academy. So all these different centers have kind of they have specialized training for specific categories of instructions. So if you talk about College of Agriculture Bank in Pune, they offer trainings to not only the staff of the Reserve Bank, but they also provide training to the officials from different banks also at various levels. They offer training in terms of agri-financing or MSME, and also they provide various communication skills and different roles that are required in certain job roles, like if you are in RO and you have FIRD, so they have a specific training for the kind of department that you are working in. Similar, when you go, if you have RBI Reserve Bank staff in Chennai, so Chennai offers a focused training on the kind of different, so on the department that you are attached to. So RBI provides ample opportunities for a person to grow, and so there is just no dearth of the kind of training that you get. You get training on your soft skills also, you training on your get uh, office tools also, in data analytics, all kinds of. Uh, so I think in this is one of the best thing that I liked about RBI is that if you want to learn, there is just no uh, end to it. Wherever you ask, and it also has a kind of. I want to add something here. They also have like demand on demand training. So you get a calendar of training that is being done in all these institutes. So if you like this particular training, then you can maybe request for it. Okay, this is a training that. So sometimes you're being offered a training because we have seats for all the departments and all the offices. And sometimes, if some training is not offered to you, you can also demand for it. Like you can talk to your superior and say, "This is a training, and this is my area of interest. So maybe you'd like to consider me for that training." Again, well, there is no guarantee that really, but there is no one stops from you. If you could join, then you'll be joining that training.
Got it. I've always been confused about this thing. So, RBI seems like a very stable place, and they have some structure. Like as you said, after 5 years, your wage is being looked upon, and you can raise it, and all these things. So, are there any cases where two people started as grade B officers, but one escalates faster than the other? So, is it time bounded, or can that also happen?
Um, as I have said just briefly on it earlier, as you go higher up, the promotions get very competitive. So all promotions are not time bound. There have been instances when two grade Bs who had joined at similar level, but not everybody can reach the top because see, it's a pyramidal organization. In the grand scheme, not everyone can reach at the top level. There has to be someone going up faster, and somebody could not because in a promotion opportunity you get limited number of vacancies, and on the limited number of vacancies there's so many much more multiple number of times of the people who are applying for the job. So it's so all could not get it. It's simple, it's basic arithmetic. So some people would stagnate, some people would reach top level at high level. So it's important that coming to the organization, one should not feel that the learning is over. You should always strive for more challenging opportunities, and you should try to excel over there, because in very short term you may feel that things are very much relaxed and maybe things are very stable, but at certain points of time when promotion opportunities knocks at you, and then someone is able to clear that hurdle and someone cannot, then sometimes this it can become a big filter. So it's quite competitive and it's based on merit, the higher promotions.
And what is exactly merit and the skills that RBI always looks upon when they promote someone, or in general when they want to keep someone in their organization?
See, I think there's a clear-cut internal policies on that, and obviously there's a whole set of metrics that would be applied when to consider promotion. But there is a panel for there's a proper process for it. So people they are in the test, then their interview process, and based on the culmination of whatever scores you get get bar. So all these things play. So obviously, like I said, it's like just if you want to compare with the entrance test. So many apply, few people get pass on the test, and again you get interview, and then few people get passed on. So you can compare with that process.
Understood. And what is the work-life balance of people working at RBI?
So it's a very professional organization. So the work-life balance is great in all the offices. But having said that, it doesn't mean that your work stops at 6 p.m. all the time. Well, depending on situation, depending on the workload, sometimes you have to stretch your work hours
Mm.
to maybe to a huge extent. There have been instances when I have personally gone way beyond the regular work hours, and I did that happily. There's no issue with that. So work-life balance is, I think, one of the best in the country, I would say. So if you want to have a good work-life balance, this organization should will be a great choice to you. But having said that, please do not have this preconceived notion that it's all the time. Sometimes when work calls, you have to work for 2 days straight.
Okay, so before I get into the questions in the live chat, my last question to you is, so as I began my whole talk, that my friend told me that RBI people have a lot of power. So I really want to understand and get a clarification on this front, that what does working at RBI mean in terms of power that they have?
Well, I think that's a very contextual question, because the very definition of power will vary with the
Different.
person that you talk to. Well,
Hmm.
I mean, in the if you and it depends on the situation also. In a classroom, who is the most powerful? It's the teacher.
Hmm.
When you go on a if you are looking for public transport, and if you're in Delhi, you ask for auto rickshaw to please take me to that spot, that auto rickshaw can say no to you, even though you'd not
Hmm.
want to hear that. So the very definition of power is very contextual. And if you if I have to link with the RBI, I think it depends on the kind of decisions that you make. I have personally gone for various bank branch visits in the current role that I have, and so there are different various guidelines that the branches has to follow. And if you see some guidelines are not being followed, then it's your job role to point it out. It's your job role to mention it. And if you do not, then perhaps you're not doing justice to your work. Now,
Hmm.
does that mean that you're powerful? Well, from a different perspective, maybe to a third person, okay, you may say, now this person has the power to report something wrongdoing, but it's a job to do.
Right.
So being an RBI, I wouldn't say that it's a prestigious organization. We take pride in it, but that's only because every one of us is doing their job in the most professional manner. We take our job seriously, and we do it in a very professional manner. So I think that's what I think makes the organization great. But obviously, we do not do anything that is beyond our purview. I mean, you can't do things. So I wouldn't link it with power, as the question has been put it. But it's a prestigious, and we do take pride in this organization.
Great. So on that note, I'm going to end my question, and I'm going to get into the questions that people have asked, and they have asked a lot. So, Nalin, are you ready for this? We'll start.
Yeah, sure.
Great. So, Kaustav is asking, after which time period do RBI officers are promoted? After 7 years of service or 5 years of service, excluding the probation period?
So that currently it's a certain section of officers get promoted after 7 years, including probation period.
Okay. So Raji is asking, I have completed FRM. Will that help me in grade B exam?
Well, I have myself completed FRM, and I would say it's FRM is too specialized examination. You do not need to compare FRM. You don't need to complete FRM. Uh, for general finance paper, whatever you read from one of the basic finance book, that would be sufficient. And the courses, FRM will not aid you very too much. I won't say FRM would be required to appear for the examination.
Okay. Siddharth is asking, is 3 years of work ex good if someone wants to switch to RBI after MBA?
Well, I have seen batchmates with 6 years, 7 years of experience switching to RBI. So 3 years is, I think, it's a very, it's not too much, it's not too less. People, RBI doesn't differentiate between with work experience.
Will they start from grade B officer only, no matter
Uh,
what?
they will start at all at same level. It will not.
Oh.
Because you asked this question, so in the notification process, there is a provision for extra increment up to 4 levels if you have done an higher expertise of level, like you have done, spent significant years, or maybe you have great expertise in certain sections. But that is on a case to case basis. I have seen that very rarely people are getting extra increments. With general work experience and post graduation background, I think we all would start at the same level.
Okay. So one is asking, currently working as a cloud engineer since the past 8 months, and I am born in 2002. So is there any limit, the lower limit to grade B 2023 exam? Because I think he or she is less than 21-year old.
I think there is an age limit to the examination part. Uh, if I could just quickly refer to that, yeah. So in the previous year, the age limit was 21 years. So
Hmm.
this year, when the notification will come out, then you can check with that because they've mentioned at what age. So I think that the notification would answer. The last previous year it was 21.
Got it. So one is asking, did RBI give opportunities for those who want to pursue higher studies?
Yes, so we have provision for study leave and we have also a scholarship scheme. Uh, so after a certain number of years in service, you are eligible to apply for study leave. You can take for master's or PhD that you want to pursue, and then come back to the organization. Uh, and you also have, there is also a very scholarship scheme for higher studies at abroad level. Again, after a certain number of years, you get are eligible to apply for this thing. And again, it's a comparative one because the organization is bearing the expenses for your studies abroad. So it's quite comparative, and not everybody gets through. But
That's
yes,
so
one can
great.
apply for study leave.
That is so great. Nick is asking, does IIM or IIT student get any allowance boost compared to any other graduates?
Uh, One thing I want to clearly mention: the entrance process does not differentiate from which institution. It's like open for all. It does not give preference for one institution over that would be discriminatory.
Got it. Harshita is asking, how does diversity look like in RBI through grade B? Does most people have MBA degree, finance background, stats background, or something like that?
Mm, no, I think so. You have an entrance process, and uh, from that entrance process, people come in. So
Hmm.
obviously, people. So you have to understand the process. If there's a significant proportion of people who are engineers who are applying, then you'll get a significant proportion of engineers out.
Yes.
So there is no clear-cut diversion where say somebody with a CA gets profiled. So in a batch, you'd find people with CA background, people with MBA finance background, people with arts background, and people with always also engineer background. Uh, but as we have seen in the past, there's so many engineers, applying for these examinations. So yes, we have lots of engineers, but then we have people from all across different spectrums.
Fine. Dave is asking, how is the transfer policy? Can I get longer home state posting in future?
So the organization reserves the right to transfer to you anywhere in the country. Uh, but when you join in a batch, a significant proportion of the batch gets Mumbai
Hmm.
because that's the central office, and then you get different regional offices. Uh, Organization do ask for your preferences, but you should not, assume that your preferences are your right to get a particular center. You should be willing to work at any center that the organization assigns to you. But the assignment is quite stable. You get decent number of years at any particular center.
Got it. Bhavya is asking, is RBI a dynamic organization or is it like other government offices?
Well, I can't comment on the government officers part, but it's a very dynamic organization in terms of the kind of situation that, right, the kind of work that being assigned to the organization. So if you see in the last couple of years, there has been lateral recruitment at grade C level also, but those are not permanent recruitment; those are on contractual periods. So, and those also in very specialized roles. So that, and I think that kind of reflects that being a dynamic organization, it is willing to recruit people with certain specialized role also, and also to uh, you are encouraged to learn the latest available technologies or latest available skill set that comes with time. So I think that way you're well supported by your superior also. Linking with the training part, if the department feels that the officers needs to get trained on certain latest advancement, latest skill set, then the department also collaborates with other institutions and provides and depending on the requirement, it might be a very short time training, maybe a week or maybe a month long training. So I think it's a very, very dynamic organization and takes care of the needs and the needs of the time.
Anubhav is asking, will 3 years gap affect my job profile somehow if I'm working in a PSP currently?
So let me get that correctly. If you're saying if you have a 3 years gap before applying to the Grade B General DR. So as I have highlighted in the entire process, the phase 1 and phase 2 um, does not consider your gap at all. Maybe at interview level they might have questions of your 3 years gap. If you are able to satisfy them, if you're able to answer those queries appropriately to their satisfaction, and if you clear the cutoff, then sure, your gap doesn't matter.
Got it. Kaustav is asking, sir, can you tell us the salary of RBI Grade B officer at initial level and after 5 years?
So at initial level, based on what happens. I have been in an organization for the last I think 6 to 7 years. So currently, what person is getting somewhere between 1 lakh plus. So, but having said that, salary is not the only major criteria. You get accommodation also in all the state capitals, and if you get accommodation in Mumbai, one can only imagine the kind of expensive accommodation that you have in Mumbai, and the bank takes care of it. It's well good. Because I had joined Mumbai and I was offered one of the quarters of the bank, so I had zero expenses on my personal front on accommodation part. So that's a big savior. Salary at initial level is somewhere 1 lakh plus. After 5 years, I can't give you exact figure, but I think it should be somewhere. I think maybe 1.45 somewhere. No, I can't give you an exact figure because it changes with time.
So Kaustav is asking, Nalin sir, have you seen any RBI officers who left RBI to join any other government service sector?
Joining an organization or leaving an organization is a very personal thing. So yes, I have seen people joining RBI and leaving RBI for government services, but maybe the opportunity that person has, maybe in a similar context, maybe similar situation, other person might not join. There have been, as this question puts, so I've seen instances when people moving out of RBI to those government services, and I've also seen instances people moving to RBI from those government services. So it can't be general. It's a very personal thing and depends on your personal choice and preference.
Amanda is asking, what are the exit options one can get at RBI? Do private banks poach RBI officers with the crore package?
Like I said in the previous question, entry and exit, you decide. You chose to come to this organization, and if at all you find better opportunities elsewhere, you're free to move out. So whether they poach or not, I don't know.
Next, we have Kaustav asking, after which level do an RBI officer can help in the monetary policy and other central bank policy frameworks?
The in, being in an organization, you helps to it. So when I say that you can help the monetary policy framework after reaching maybe a certain level of seniority, is not because your contribution. I have so as I worked in DPR, I have contributed to the research towards monetary policy, or to the process that gets into it. Every member contributes in their own small way. So just by joining this organization and contributing to the functions of RBI, you are contributing to it. Because if you consider the monetary policy, so rate decision is one thing, but there's entire channel of activities that go into transmission. You have financial market operations, you have uh, repo operations, OMO purchases. So all these things, and it's being this contribution done by different departments. So even if you're part of one department, you are contributing to it. And if you're not directly part of that department, but if you're in part of kind of supporting department, so just to say that even if you're in HR department, you're contributing to it because you're contributing to the organization. So I think one should not see that only after achievement of certain seniority level you have a direct contribution. Once you join the organization, you have contribution to all its activities.
Right. Anurag, to answer your question, I'm not giving CAT or RBI. I'm just here to help you guys. So moving forward, Costa has asked several questions. I'm just going to put it in one, and he's asking, how is the social life at RBI? Like,
so the social life, as long as I understand this question correctly, the people are very nice. They are it's very friendly environment. You get because as you get every batch, the people are I think last batch was somewhere 200 around. My batch was around it. So there's a lot of young talent coming to the organization. So when you say social life, if your peers, you have plenty of peers in your Mumbai or in any other regional offices who are of similar age and of similar experience. So obviously you kind of hang around with your peers also. Your superior also, they're also very friendly and approachable. So they also provide a good cushion and they nurture you, mentor you appropriately in the organization. So it's a very cordial uh, organization, and I think social life is less like in anywhere else you are in society.
So the next we have, do RBI prefer young aspirants or someone with experience background?
As I have said in the previous question also, the process does not discriminate whether you are young. I have seen people with zero experience also, and I've seen people with 6 plus 7 years experience also. So there's really no inherent preference.
Okay. Next, we have type of work done by a grade A officer versus a grade B level officer.
So the work difference, so depends. See, if you're in central office department and because grade B is a major kind of entrance. So at certain positions, you'll have mostly grade Bs and very few grade As. So at this position, the grade As are kind of to assist you. You can delegate certain amount of work, maybe data processing or maybe correspondence or to just so there is no clear cut boundary between what a grade A does or what grade B does. It depends on the context. It depends on the department that you're posted, whether in certain positions you'll have less grade Bs and more grade As in that vertical. In certain departments you'll have more grade Bs and relatively less grade As. So there is no clear-cut black and white distinction between work. If the graders are there, they will be happy to assist you. But if you feel that if you have less grade As in that particular section or division or department, then you'll have to carry also most of the work.
So I'm taking the last question for this webinar. Himanshu is asking for RBI Grade B preparation. Is it mandatory to know and to speak English? And for mains, is it enough to complete the syllabus CA intermediate syllabus?
So there are two questions. The first question is to English part, and the second question is on the CA part, CA intermediate. I'm afraid I can't answer the second part because I'm very not conversant with the CA qualification now and how it's being compared with vis-a-vis this thing. But on the English part, no, it's not compulsory to have English because there is an option to choose your interview. You can select whether you want to conduct the interview in English or Hindi. So I think that answers your first part. Second part, I'm sorry, I can't.
No issues. On that note, we are going to end this webinar. Thank you so much, Nalin, for all the information. I got to learn a lot of new things I didn't know. I hope it helped everybody who is watching. But thank you so much for taking the time and doing this for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.